All right, hello everyone. My name is Kristen. I'm an HR coordinator with the city of Boynton Beach. The library asked me to go over some application tips for you guys. So first and foremost, Happy New Year. But then also I know that a lot of people might be looking to apply for new jobs for the new year. So I have some application tips that we'll go over. And then if anyone has any questions toward the end, we can go ahead and review or during the presentation as well. So I hope everyone can see the screen, but we'll go ahead and get started and talk about making sure that you're prepared to start applying. So I know a lot of people talk about being prepared for the interview, but also it's really important to be prepared for just applying for a position as well. So in that, the best thing to do when you're reviewing a job that you're interested in is to make sure that you read through the entire job posting before you even start the application process. Reason being is, one, it's going to give you a full detail about what this job is. And in that, you may actually see if you truly are interested in the job based on the functions and the expectations for that position. So you may find that, the job title is similar to something you've done before, or maybe something you sounds like it would be interesting to you. But then in reading the job application or posting, you find that it's really not the job for you. It's something that you're not interested in. So that's the first thing, which is a great benefit to you in reading the posting. But also by reading that posting, you do see the functions and the expectations of the position, and you can start thinking of previous experience that you have that relates to some of those job functions, which can help you in applying and also eventually interviewing. So another step in preparing yourself would be to have your resume available, but also to make sure that you're updating your resume for the jobs that you're applying for. So again, when you read that job posting, you may see some keywords or responsibilities that either you've done before or you've done something similar. And you may want to tailor your resume to mirror what you're seeing in the job description, or to show the organization that you actually already have the experience based on your resume and your application. You'll also want to confirm your references and make sure you have their proper contact information. So a lot of people use the same references for multiple applications, and they'll use them for years to come. So the best thing to do is just reconfirm with your references each time you're going through, like, let's say you're applying for 10 or 15 jobs in a month or two. Yes, you know that you can use those references throughout that period, but maybe a year goes by or 6 months goes by and you haven't applied for a job. You may just want to reconfirm that, one, the person is willing to do the reference, but also that their contact information hasn't changed. This is actually something that I find a lot when I'm checking references once we've selected candidates and they go into a conditional offer process, is that emails will bounce back, or maybe the reference doesn't respond to the email reference. So you just really want to make sure that their email information is correct, and you're also getting a phone number. And then again, just that the person is willing to do the reference. Maybe, they're busy with work or it's not a good time. They may not be able to do it. So you just want to confirm that, because you want to make sure that they're responsive to the organization. You also, speaking about email addresses, you want to make sure that your email address is appropriate and professional. So you just want to make sure that you want to remember that your future employer or an organization that you're interested in is also viewing that email. So you want to make sure that it's something appropriate and professional, maybe your first and last name at Gmail or Yahoo or whatever domain name that you typically would choose to use, or email service, or something in that area, initials, something like that. You'll also want to locate your previous employer's phone numbers and addresses. And a lot of applications, they'll ask for 7 or 10 years of work experience. And in that, they usually ask for the organization's title, or your position title, the organization name, maybe an address, possibly a phone number. It may ask you if we have the ability to contact them, if you approve that. So you'll want to make sure that that information is accurate, because if the organization does follow through moving forward for a hiring process and needs to contact for employment verification purposes, that they're actually reaching out to the correct organization. They're not getting phone numbers of disconnected lines. So you just want to make sure that that information is available. You also, if you happen to have a LinkedIn profile or another like social media or job related profile or career profile, that it's updated with the most current information regarding your employment. So that the dates of your current employer are on there and your current positions on there with a description of what you're doing. You just want to make sure you have the most up-to-date information. Some organizations will look to your LinkedIn, and actually not only in applying for a position, but also there are some organizations that do a little bit more hands-on recruiting where they're actually looking for you. So you may not even apply for a job. People or organizations might be looking at LinkedIn, trying to find someone that's best qualified for a position that they have available. And so you'll want to make sure that your LinkedIn is pretty much constantly updated, or whatever job platform type social media that you're using, because someone might actually be seeking you for employment, which is also a great purpose for those types of platforms. And also with preparing yourself for an interview, you want to make sure that if you plan on submitting a cover letter, sometimes those are optional, that you are tailoring it to the position. So again, that goes back into this first tip about reading the job posting and familiarizing yourself with the responsibilities and expectations. So you can try to include maybe something from the job posting or about the position and how you're qualified within your cover letter. All right, so now once you start completing that application, so you've read through it, you know it's the position that you want to make sure you follow all instructions on the application. So I would go ahead and try to skim. Sometimes the applications will show you the full application. Sometimes it'll just show you page 1, but go ahead and skim it top to bottom to see what it's asking and requesting, making sure you have that information available before you get started and that you're following the instructions. Some applications may tell you, don't leave blanks. It may say, don't use see resume, things like that. So you just want to make sure that you know the instructions or directions before you get started. You want to make sure that your employment history is truthful and complete. So double checking the dates of employment, your position, things of that nature. So that way, when we're reviewing your applications and it may say 2007, you worked at XYZ employer from 2017 to 2019. You want to make sure that that is actually correct and accurate, because if the person that's reviewing your application eventually is checking your employment, they're going to want to see that it matches what you said. A pitfall here sometimes is that some websites that you use to apply for jobs will save your application, which is a great resource, but it doesn't update it for you. So let's say a couple of years later, you're going back in and applying for a new job using that same website or same employer, or, for example, government jobs or something like that. It may say, oh, you worked at XYZ employer until present on there. So 2017 to present, but maybe you actually have left that employer. Now it's going to show the organization you're applying for, that you're still there when you might have actually started another job already. So you just want to make sure, if it's a job site that saves your information, that you re-review it to make sure it's truthful and complete. Now also, I feel like this goes without saying, but I know paper applications are becoming more and more obsolete, but they are still around and organizations still use them. So if you are filling out that paper application, just make sure that you're writing as legible as possible, just so the employer or organization can make sure that they really understand everything on the application, and that they're not missing something just because maybe it's a little bit illegible. On applications, make sure you're avoiding leaving any blanks. So if a question or a section of the application may not apply to you, you may want to respond not applicable or NA, but I wouldn't just leave that section blank, because it might just seem like maybe you just missed the section. Just like not leaving a section blank and putting NA if something is not applicable, you also may want to avoid using the term see resume, which is the next bullet point down. You want to make sure that you're providing job details and specifics. And remember that the employer that you're applying for more than likely does not know you or know what you did at your previous or current jobs. So you want to be as detailed as possible. And if they're asking you to give a description on the application, or maybe they have supplemental questions at the end of the application asking about your experience, just make sure you're answering them as best as possible and not writing see resume, because that's not a complete answer to the question. So you just want to make sure that you're going ahead and filling out that information fully. I would also tend to avoid using acronyms. for your prospective employer, as well as abbreviations. Your prospective employer may not know that acronym. It may be commonly known in the field that you were in previously or at your previous job, a certification or something like that. But if the current employer or prospective employer is not familiar with that acronym, they may not look it up, they may not know what it is, and it might be really important for you to be, one of their top candidates if they knew what that acronym stood for. So any acronyms or abbreviations you're going to use, you may just want to spell them out or not use them, just use the full language there. All right, so once you get through completing the entire application, make sure if you're able to, if the system allows you to, that you're proofreading your application for any grammatical or spelling mistakes. If you have, another set of eyes around, maybe you want someone to give your application a once over just to make sure that it flows and makes sense, and that there's not too many grammatical or spelling errors on that application. Also, you want to ensure that all the information, again, is accurate and correct. This goes for everything on that application, from your name all the way down to the date and signature. You want to make sure that if you're listing certifications or licenses or things like that, that they're still current, they're not expired. If they are expired and you still want the employer to know that you had this certification, make sure you're listing if it's asking for the expiration date, because if it's a certification you need for this position and it's expired, that eventually will show up in your hiring process. And you just want to make sure that you're being forthcoming and accurate and correct with all of your information. In addition to that, you want to make sure that you're reading through the application to find out if any attachments are required on your application. So, for example, let's say you're applying for a lifeguard position, possibly a lifeguard certification or document might be required. It may ask you to attach that. You want to make sure you're doing so. If you're missing that attachment, the employer or organization may not continue with that application because that requirement is missing. So this also goes for our veterans or people that have are previously enlisted in the service. They may have a DD 214 that might need to be included on your application. So just make sure you're reading through, maybe if you have a water license or things like that, that might be something that you want to include on your application, especially if it's required, but also if it's something that's needed for that position, you may just want to attach it anyways, just so the employer or the recruiter has that information available and can review it. And then a really important tip I have, take note of all the positions that you're applying for. Applying for positions can be very overwhelming, and you probably apply for so many, and we do our best to remember exactly what that position title was or the organization we applied for, but it's natural to forget. Sometimes I do get phone calls and an applicant is asking me for their application status, but they can't remember the position title, or they're calling the wrong organization. Really, they applied for another municipality, so or government agency. So just take the time, jot it down in the note section of your phone or in a notebook of the position title that you applied for and the organization. And that way, after you submit that application, if you do want to follow up on the status, a couple of weeks later, you actually have that information so the recruiter can best look up your information and give you an appropriate status update. So once that application is submitted, I wanted to go ahead and give you a couple interview tips as well. So once your application is submitted and the recruiter reviews the application, let's say you're invited for an interview. Make yourself familiar with the location of where that interview is going to be. So if you have time today or a couple days beforehand, just to drive up to the location or get a ride up to the location or walk to the location and see where it is, that will really benefit you, especially if there's traffic the day of the interview. You'll know how long it takes you to get there. Also, you'll know exactly where the building is. A lot of organizations, maybe they're one room in a giant building or they're in a shopping center. So you may want to just find out exactly where it's located to cut down the time of possibly getting lost or confused the day of the interview and running late. If your interviewer is requesting a video interview, which during pandemic times, I think it's become far more popular for organizations to request some sort of video platform like WebEx or Zoom or I'm sure there's a lot of platforms I'm not familiar with, but for example, we've used Zoom here, and you may want to familiarize yourself with that platform to make sure that you understand how to use it. If your interviewer sends out that information, a day ahead of the interview, maybe you want to try to sign in and just make sure that you're comfortable with the system, or at least review the confirmation and the directions on how to sign in. And that way, if you have any questions, you can call ahead and ask those questions. That way you don't accidentally miss the interview or run late to the video interview. So I know it's a new technology that we're all using, but times are kind of requiring that more of an online presence. Also, practice before the interview. This is a big tip I have. You can always, go on Google or another search engine to find out some interview tips and questions that are common. Those may not be the questions used in your interview, but it might make you comfortable just answering some questions that are similar to what might be used. So maybe you practice with a friend or a family member at home, just kind of getting the flow of how the interview should go. And it might help also with calming your nerves a little bit before the interview. And definitely research the organization you're applying for. If you're applying for an organization, I can't say all organizations, but a lot do have a website. So maybe going on that website, if you can find information about your position or the department that you're applying for, but also just the organization as a whole. Maybe they have a mission statement listed, or company values listed, or projects that are coming up. So you may just want to familiarize yourself, and just as talking points or something that may come up during the interview that you'll already have knowledge about. And also, once you've identified where the location is the day before, so I'd still show up at least 10 minutes before your interview time. If you can show up a little bit earlier, it never hurts. But at least 10 minutes before, give yourself time for possibility of traffic, or maybe you get into the building, you go the wrong direction. So definitely give yourself time for error. This happens quite a bit. It's human nature. When I go to, the mall, I go the wrong direction. So just give yourself a few extra minutes or 10 minutes just to get to where you're going. And just like I stated, before you apply, you read that job posting, I'd save it somewhere, because it never hurts to reread the job posting before you go to the interview. Some companies may have, or organizations may list their job descriptions online, so you can go back and review them, but some don't. So if you can save the description, maybe take a picture of it, just to kind of help you, because more likely than not, some of those interview questions or topics that you talk about in the interview will be related to the job. So you may just want to re-review those expectations and responsibilities so you can prepare yourself. Also, remember to dress professionally, business casual or business professional. Remember that you are going for an interview, you are trying to impress, and you do want to dress the part for that position. And lastly, please remember, the interview does not know you. So when you're answering those interview questions, make sure you're answering them thoroughly and really giving them the details that they need to know, that you have the previous experience or similar experience to the job you're applying for, or can relate that experience to previous experience you have. So in the interview, if they ask the question, I would definitely maybe not be long-winded, but make sure you have enough response to answer the question that they're asking fully. And lastly, after that interview, always feel free to follow up with those organizations to find out the status for your interviews. So as I stated, I work for the city of Boynton. So our application process might be a little bit different on how to apply than other organizations. So I did list the steps here on how you can apply for a position. You'll simply visit our city website, which is listed here. And then we have a search engine that you can type in. Join our team is what you want to put in that search bar. You'll click on join our team. We have current openings. We also have an internship application. We also have a volunteer application. So you'll fill out whichever work is best suited for you. And then at the end, you'll click apply and fill everything out. Also, I do want to show you guys these steps, and I will at the end of this presentation, but you can also fill out a job interest card to stay informed about positions that maybe you're interested in or fields that you're interested in. And that way, when we post positions that are in that subject matter or field that you have interest in, you'll be notified via email, and then that will give you the information to go ahead and reroute and apply online. All right. And other than that, if there are any questions or comments, if I know I'm live right now, but if you do not have a question at the moment, you can always feel free to call me. I did list my work phone number as 561-742-6273. And my email address is biazark@bbfl.us. And that's B as in boy, IA, Z as in zebra, ARK @bbfl.us. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or concerns, and I'll be happy to address them. So before we sign off or anyone has any questions, I can go ahead and show you the city's website and how you would apply. So this is the homepage of our city's website. So here you just type in join our team. From there, you can scroll down, you'll see a link here and it says join our team. You can click that link.
Oh, Kristen, I think you need to change the screen that's being shown.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Sorry about that.
You're good.
You can see it or no?
We still see your PowerPoint.
Gotcha. Okay. Do you see it now?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So this is our homepage for our city website. Like I said, you'll type in join our team. Once you get in to the results, you'll scroll down, you'll see the link for join our team. Again, you'll scroll down on this page and you'll see quite a few options. You have our current openings. If you click that, it will show you the same options. So job opportunities, internal opportunities. That's for internal opportunities are for individuals that already work for the city of Boynton Beach. You guys also have an option for volunteer opportunities and internships. So if you click job opportunities, that will take you to our current openings. And I'll kind of just scroll down, just kind of show you. It will tell you the position, whether it's part-time or full-time or temporary, the hourly rate or annual salary, and the department that you would be in, and then a brief description. And if that sounds like something you're interested in, you can click on that opportunity and it will show you the full job description as well as the minimum qualifications and just more information, preferred qualifications, knowledge, skills, and abilities, everything all the way down. Also at the top here, it does list again the salary, the part-time, and let's say maybe today when you're reviewing, you're not ready to apply. Usually you'll have a closing date. So you'll see here, anyone interested in this opportunity has up until tomorrow at pretty much just before midnight to apply. So you may see that, or 11:59 tomorrow to apply. So you may see, it's important to look at this so you know, okay, it's not going to be open for another 4 days where you can come back later in the week. So you would definitely want to sign on by end of day tomorrow to make sure that you could apply. You will also be able to view benefits as well, our city benefits on that page. And then typically all of our applications include supplemental questions, and you can go ahead and look at those ahead of time as well, our agency-wide questions. So that can help prepare you before you actually apply. And then when you're ready to apply, you can click apply in the corner. The other thing I mentioned was about our job interest cards. So I want to go ahead and show you that as well. Let's see. So back to the page that we went to, you'll see if you scroll down, stay informed. That's where you're going to fill out a job interest card. So you can sign up, and then here it gives you the opportunity to list any of the departments or fields that you're interested in. You can check multiple that you're interested in. And then from there, you fill out what you're interested in, and then you'll continue on to subscribe into your interests, and that way you'll be notified. This lasts for up to a year, so you may have to redo it eventually, but for a year, you'll be notified about those opportunities that you selected. back on these options, like I said, there's also volunteer opportunities and internship opportunities. There's applicant support lines. This is to government jobs because our job searches run through there, but also you can contact our human resources department for questions about different opportunities. And the one more thing I want to show you on our website here, before you click current openings and you had other options, you do have the ability to look at job descriptions for all of our positions here at the city by clicking this button, and also some human resources job applicant facts if you wanted to view this here. So other than that, that's all I really had regarding our application process and the tips. Does anyone have any questions?
So I don't see any questions on Facebook or in here. One thing I did have a question on that I thought of as you're going through it was in terms of job applications where they have an option for cover letters, but it's not required. Should someone submit a cover letter or?
I'd say it's really the discretion of the applicant. If it's not required, it's not necessary in the sense of if you don't want to submit, you don't have to. Me personally, I would probably submit a cover letter if the option was available, just to kind of highlight, why I feel like I might be, a good applicant for this position. But again, if it's not, doesn't ask you specifically to do it, you have that option of not doing it. But a cover letter does give you an opportunity to kind of highlight a little bit more about your experience and why you might be a good fit for the position or a good candidate for the position. But yeah, it's a discretion call if it's not required. I know, when I was applying for positions a few years back, cover letters weren't really a requirement, it was an option, but I still did them. The thing with the cover letter, like I said, I do recommend that you somewhat tailor it to the job that you're applying for. So they can be tedious, but I think that they can be useful as well.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, I don't see any other questions. So I did just want to say thank you for doing this and to the City of Boynton Beach Human Resources Department. And if anybody has any questions after the fact, feel free to contact us, comment on our Facebook Live if you're watching it there, and we can certainly forward them on for an answer if you're curious. And this recording will be available on our Facebook page and also on the Boynton Beach City Library YouTube page for anyone to watch after the fact if they'd like to. And otherwise, yeah, thank you so much, Kristen, for coming. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. And as I said previously, if anyone watching does have additional questions, feel free to reach out to me. I provided that phone number on the PowerPoint. I also said aloud just so everyone can get it. But if I'm not available, we have other coordinators and managers in the office, so someone will reach back to you for your questions. So definitely don't hesitate if you have a question.
Perfect. Thanks so much, everyone. I hope you all have a great day. All right.
Thank you.
Bye.